A 5-year-old boy, clutching a small action figure, nervously approaches none other than Hollywood star Keanu Reeves. He leans in, whispering something so shocking that Keanu's face turns pale. Without hesitation, he pulls out his phone and dials 911. What could the little boy have said to prompt such an urgent reaction? Stick around to discover the incredible story that follows. And let us know in the comments where you're watching this video from. It was a warm, sunny afternoon in Los Angeles. The sky was a perfect canvas of blue, streaked with only a few faint clouds, and the sunlight gleamed off the iconic Hollywood signs. Keanu Reeves, known for his down-to-earth personality and magnetic charm, was driving to a charity event aimed at helping underprivileged children. The event had been an inspiring experience. Keanu had spent hours volunteering his time, engaging with kids and supporting a cause close to his heart. After the event, though exhausted, he felt a sense of fulfillment and calm. Rather than heading straight home or dining at a posh restaurant, he made an unusual choice. He stopped at a Mcdonald's on a busy avenue. Why not? It was a chance to embrace a simple, unassuming moment away from the constant glare of the spotlight. Inside, the restaurant buzzed with life. Families were chatting over meals, children's laughter filled the air from the small play area, and the rhythmic call-outs of orders being ready blended into the lively ambience. The unmistakable scent of fries and burgers hung in the air, stirring nostalgic memories. Keanu, dressed casually in a black t-shirt and sunglasses, slipped in quietly, his relaxed appearance making him blend into the scene. He placed a modest order at the counter and found a quiet spot to sit in a corner. With his phone off, he let himself enjoy the moment. No interruptions, no cameras, just an opportunity to soak in the world around him. As he sat there, something unusual caught his eye. A child sitting at a nearby table couldn't stop staring at him. It was a boy with tousled blonde hair, wearing a slightly worn blue shirt. Clutched tightly against his chest was a broken toy car, held as if it were his most treasured possession. The boy appeared hesitant, his eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and nervousness. Keanu gave a faint smile, finding the moment endearing, but quickly returned to his meal. Still, he noticed the boy watching him persistently, as though gathering the courage to act. At the same table, sitting beside the boy, was a man. Tall and sharply dressed in a pristine suit, he held himself with a stiff, formal posture. Engrossed in a phone call, his face was serious and cold. Every slight movement the boy made seemed to draw disapproving glances from the man, as if even breathing out of sync was an annoyance. Keanu couldn't help but sense the tension at their table. The contrast between them was stark. The boy, small and vulnerable. The man, exuding authority and control. The boy's restlessness grew until finally he did something unexpected. With timid, hesitant steps, he slid down from his chair, still clutching the broken car to his chest. His wide eyes stayed locked on Keanu as he began to move toward him. The restaurant seemed to quiet, the world slowing as the boy approached. Keanu set his burger down and turned fully toward him, noticing the nervousness in the child's steps. When the boy stopped at his chair, his eyes held an unspoken plea. A mixture of fear, determination, and hope. The boy leaned in, his small frame trembling slightly. He opened his mouth to speak, but his voice was so faint that Keanu leaned closer to hear. What the boy whispered left Keanu stunned, but he didn't have time to react. The man at the table abruptly noticed the boy's absence and turned, his cold gaze fixed on Keanu, sending a chill down his spine. The man stood, adjusting his suit jacket, and began walking toward them. Keanu stayed calm, though his expression tightened slightly. In that moment, Keanu knew this wasn't just a random encounter. It was bigger than it seemed. Around him, the restaurant buzzed with voices and laughter, families enjoying their meals. But Keanu felt detached from it all. His focus was on the boy, standing there with urgency etched on his face. Ethan, he'd said his name was Ethan, gripped the broken toy car as though it was his lifeline. He glanced nervously over his shoulder toward the table he'd come from. The man, now clearly Mr. Harris, sat watching intently, phone still in hand. His piercing gaze was cold and unnerving. Ethan quickly looked away as if afraid of being caught. Keanu crouched to the boy's level, speaking gently. "Ethan, it's okay. You can tell me what's going on." The boy hesitated, clutching the hem of his shirt with his free hand, his eyes darting nervously around the room to ensure no one was listening. Finally, in a near whisper, he said, "I can't talk here. He'll get mad." Keanu exhaled deeply, recognizing the fear in Ethan's voice. Whatever this was, it was serious enough for the boy to seek help from a stranger. Keanu nodded, his voice steady. "It's okay, Ethan. You're safe now." But before he could say more, Harris rose from his chair. He adjusted his suit jacket deliberately, walking toward them with measured steps. Though his expression was controlled, irritation flickered in his eyes. Keanu straightened, stepping protectively in front of Ethan as Harris approached. The man stopped a few steps away, forcing a polite smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Apologies for this," Harris said smoothly. "Ethan can be overly curious at times. I hope he hasn't been bothering you." Keanu met his gaze calmly, his instincts on high alert. Years of experience had taught him to trust his gut, and every alarm bell was going off. Something about this man wasn't right. Without breaking eye contact, Keanu responded with a calm smile. "Actually, he was just showing me his toy car. It seems broken, but he must really cherish it." Harris squinted briefly before forcing a polite response. "Ah, yes, he's very attached to it." He extended his hand toward Ethan. "Come on, Ethan, it's time to go." But Ethan hesitated, taking a small step back and slightly hiding behind Keanu. He stayed silent, but the simple act was enough to wear down Harris's patience. Harris's smile faltered, and he exhaled sharply. "Look, I appreciate you keeping him busy, but we have somewhere to be." "Excuse us," he said, reaching for Ethan. Before he could touch the boy, Keanu gently placed a hand on Harris's shoulder. "Plans can wait. I think Ethan needs a moment." Keanu smiled faintly. He seemed eager to talk to me about his car. Maybe we should focus on that first. The waitress, who had been watching the tension unfold, approached with a tray in hand. "Is everything all right here?" she asked, eyeing Harris suspiciously. Keanu turned to her with a reassuring smile. "It's fine. Actually, could you bring Ethan a drink? He looks like he could use one." She nodded but cast another wary glance at Harris before walking away. The moment she was out of sight, Keanu discreetly pulled out his phone and started typing a message. He knew he needed to act fast. Harris noticed the movement and stepped closer, his tone hardening. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but this has gone far enough." Though he tried to appear composed, the frustration in Harris's eyes was clear. Keanu remained calm but firm. "I'm just trying to help a boy who seems like he needs someone to listen. Surely you understand that." Ethan, clutching his broken car tightly, finally found his voice. It trembled as he spoke. "I don't want to go. Please. Can I stay here?" The boy's plea momentarily froze Harris. He looked at Keanu, his expression turning cold. "I suggest you stay out of matters that don't concern you," he warned. Keanu held his composure, realizing the gravity of the situation. Ethan was scared, and one wrong move could escalate things. Keanu pressed send on his phone, the message for help already on its way. Harris and Keanu locked eyes in a silent standoff. The tension was palpable, the air thick with unspoken threats. Keanu, standing between Harris and Ethan, felt the weight of the moment. The restaurant buzzed with its usual chatter, but to Keanu, the world seemed quieter, the stakes higher. Ethan clutched his broken toy as though it could shield him from the storm. Keanu crouched to Ethan's level, his voice gentle yet steady. "You can tell me what's going on. I'm here to help." Ethan cast a nervous glance at Harris, who was seated but still watching them intently, his phone in hand like he was waiting for something. The boy hesitated, then leaned in close to Keanu, his voice barely above a whisper. "He did something bad to my mum. Can you help?" Ethan's words sent a chill through Keanu. It wasn't just fear in the boy's voice, it was desperation. Keanu took a deep breath, keeping his tone calm but firm. "It's okay, I'll help. I promise." Ethan nodded, though his fear was still evident. He glanced back at Harris, his small frame trembling under the man's gaze. Harris seemed to pick up on the exchange and rose abruptly, adjusting his jacket as he approached with slow, deliberate steps. His forced smile barely masked the irritation brewing beneath the surface. "Sorry to interrupt, but Ethan and I were just about to leave." "Thanks for keeping him entertained," Harris said, reaching out for Ethan. But before he could touch the boy, Keanu stood, calmly stepping in his way. Though Keanu's stance was casual, there was something about his expression that made Harris pause. "He's still telling me about his toy car," Keanu said evenly. "I think he'd like a few more minutes." Harris's eyes narrowed in irritation, his tone clipped. "That's thoughtful of you, but he's with me. We have somewhere to be." Keanu didn't move, his gaze steady. "Kids need time to share their thoughts. I'm sure you can understand that." For a moment, Harris's frustration flared, but he quickly masked it with a tight smile. "Of course, but we're on a schedule." He turned to Ethan, now tucked behind Keanu. "Let's go, Ethan. We're leaving." Before Harris could press the issue, the waitress returned, appearing nonchalant as she placed a folded napkin on Keanu's table. Keanu picked it up, unfolding it discreetly. "The police are on their way," it read. Relief flickered through Keanu, but he knew the situation was far from resolved. Offering Ethan a reassuring smile, he turned back to Harris. "Why don't we all take a seat for a moment? Looks like Ethan needs some time to breathe. Sometimes kids just want to feel heard." Harris's glare was icy, but after a tense pause, he relented and sat back down. His fingers hovered over his phone, agitatedly scrolling as he muttered under his breath. Keanu sensed that time was running out. Harris's phone call ended abruptly. Rising from his seat, he adjusted his suit jacket and sent a hard, pointed glare toward Keanu and Ethan. His voice dropped, laced with menace. "You don't know what you're getting yourself into." Keanu didn't waver. His calm demeanor contrasted sharply with Harris's rising tension. The man started toward the door, his steps deliberate, his every move calculated. Keanu tracked him carefully, knowing any sudden action could escalate the situation. Ethan clung to his toy car, his knuckles white as he stared at the floor. The restaurant's chatter droned on in the background, punctuating the uneasy silence. Near the entrance, Harris hesitated, pretending to adjust his jacket, but Keanu noticed the subtle shift in his posture. He was scanning the room, planning something. Harris pulled his phone from his inner pocket, typing quickly before slipping it back. Returning to his seat, he seemed even more on edge, his attention bouncing between his phone and the room. The waitress leaned in close to Keanu. "The police are almost here," she whispered. Keanu gave her a slight nod, never taking his eyes off Harris. The man's demeanor had shifted again, calculated and cold. His presence dominated the room, each word and movement deliberate. Finally, Harris broke the tense silence, his tone sharp. "You seem very interested in our little discussion, Mr. Reeves." Keanu remained composed. "Ethan looks frightened, and I'm just trying to understand why." Harris let out a dry chuckle, devoid of warmth. Kids have wild imaginations. They make things up, exaggerate. You, of all people, should know that, right? In your job, you deal with stories all the time, Harris said, gesturing at Ethan. Maybe that's what's happening here. Keanu crossed his arms, staying composed. Maybe. But kids are more honest than adults, Keanu added. They express what they feel, even if they don't always have the words. Harris leaned forward, elbows on the table. Then let's ask Ethan, Harris suggested. Do you want to leave or stay and keep talking to our friend? Ethan hesitated, glancing between the two men. His hand gripped the toy car tightly. Finally, he whispered, I want to stay. Harris clenched his fist briefly, but forced a strained smile. Fine, let's not drag this out. As Harris composed himself, the waitress slid a note under Keanu's glass. He read it discreetly. They're 2 minutes away. Hold tight. Keanu turned to Ethan. You said your mom's hurt. Do you know where she is? Ethan started to answer, but Harris slammed the table, drawing attention. That's enough, Reeves. Stay out of this. Keanu's voice stayed calm. If she's hurt, it's everyone's business, especially mine. Harris leaned closer. I suggest you stop now. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Keanu locked eyes with him before standing slowly, motioning for Ethan to stay close. We can handle this civilly, he said, measured, or you can wait for the police. Harris froze, realizing he was losing control. Outside, police cruisers arrived at the restaurant entrance. 2 officers stepped out and entered the establishment with determination. Harris spotted them and stood, adjusting his suit jacket as he glared at Keanu. You've made a big mistake, he muttered, stepping toward the exit. Keanu, still standing protectively beside Ethan, knew it was time to act. He couldn't let Harris get away. The glass doors of Mcdonald's swung open, and 2 police officers in uniform entered with confident strides. Their eyes swept across the room, landing on the tense scene at the table where Keanu, Ethan, and Harris sat. The nervous waitress subtly pointed toward them. Keanu remained calm, though he felt Ethan gripping his arm tightly, his small body trembling. Keanu knelt quickly and whispered, It's okay now. They're here to help. Harris, however, sat up straighter, adjusting his suit jacket with an air of control. His expression mixed arrogance and disdain as he glanced at the officers, seemingly preparing for a confrontation. The officers, a tall man identified as Officer Ramirez and a female officer named Vega, approached with serious expressions. Ramirez spoke first. We got a call about a potential issue here. Is everything all right? Harris smiled smoothly. Everything's fine, officer. There must be some misunderstanding. I'm just here with my son, enjoying the day. Before the officers could respond, Keanu stood up, keeping Ethan close. Officers, I think you need to hear what the boy has to say. Ramirez turned to Ethan, who looked nervously at the floor. Vega crouched to his level, offering a kind smile. Hi, I'm Vega. What's your name? Ethan glanced at Keanu for reassurance. Keanu nodded, giving his shoulder a gentle squeeze. Ethan, he murmured. Vega repeated softly, Ethan, can you tell us what's going on? We're here to help. Ethan's eyes shifted between Vega and Harris, whose calm demeanor cracked with irritation. Don't say anything, Ethan. We're leaving, Harris said sharply. Ramirez stepped forward, blocking Harris. "I suggest you stay put, sir. We're not going anywhere until we understand the situation." The officer's presence gave Ethan a boost of courage. He looked up and spoke softly but clearly. "He hurt my mom and said no one can help us." The restaurant fell silent. Ramirez and Vega exchanged a glance as Keanu knelt beside Ethan again. "You did the right thing by telling us," he said, smiling reassuringly. Harris snapped, "This is ridiculous. He's just a kid. Making things up. My lawyer will have a field day with this." As Harris tried to push past, Ramirez stopped him with a firm hand. "We'll clear this up first, sir. Stay where you are." Vega turned to Ethan. "Ethan, do you know where your mum is? Is she home?" Ethan nodded hesitantly, worry etched on his face. "She can't get up. He said no one would believe me." Keanu gently squeezed Ethan's shoulder. "We believe you. It's okay now." Harris let out a bitter laugh. "You're seriously taking the word of a child over a responsible adult? I won't stand for this." Ramirez, calm and firm, replied, "Sir, we have reason to investigate. You need to come with us." Harris's face twisted with anger. "You don't know who you're dealing with," he hissed, attempting to leave. Vega acted quickly, grabbing Harris's arm. Ramirez assisted, securing Harris in handcuffs. "Are you resisting a police order?" Vega asked sternly. Harris muttered, "He's lying," as the officers escorted him out. Keanu turned to Ethan. "Do you want to show me where your mom is? We can go with the police." Ethan nodded slowly, clutching his broken toy car and Keanu's hand tightly. "I just want her to be okay," he whispered. Keanu felt a pang in his chest but knew action was needed. He looked to the officers. "Let's go to his house. There's more to do." The restaurant quieted, but tension lingered. Keanu crouched beside Ethan again. "Ethan, the police are here to help. Can you tell me more about your mom?" Ethan hesitated, then spoke in a low voice. "He yelled at her, and she fell. She said she'd be okay, but I know she wasn't." Keanu swallowed hard, signaling the officers. "He's afraid to go home, and he's worried about his mom. We need to act fast." Ramirez nodded, writing down the address. Vega knelt to Ethan's level. "Ethan, can you show us where your house is? We'll make sure your mom's okay." Ethan looked to Keanu, who nodded. "I'll show you, but he always locks the door. I don't know how to get in." Keanu placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Don't worry. We'll figure it out." As the officers prepared to leave, a restaurant employee informed Vega that Harris had left a small backpack at his table in his rush to leave. She brought the bag to the table where Keanu and Ethan were sitting. Outside, Harris yelled from the back of the patrol car. "You're making a mistake. You have no proof. I'm innocent." Ramirez ignored the outburst as Vega helped Keanu and Ethan into the police car. During the ride, Keanu tried to keep Ethan calm by sharing small stories to distract him. "Did you know toy cars are really easy to fix? Once all this is over, we'll figure out how to fix yours." For the first time, Ethan managed a faint smile, though his eyes still held a distant look. "Do you think my mom will be okay?" he asked. Keanu met his gaze and replied sincerely, "We're going to do everything we can to make sure she is." As the car approached Ethan's house, the atmosphere grew heavy with tension. The street was unnervingly quiet, and the house windows were dark. Vega noticed the front door was slightly ajar, prompting Ramirez to stop the car abruptly. "Stay here," he ordered Keanu and Ethan, stepping out with Vega, their weapons drawn. Keanu turned to Ethan and whispered, "Stay with me. We won't let anything happen." Outside, the officers moved cautiously toward the house, the oppressive silence more unnerving than noise. When Ramirez pushed the door open, what they found inside was shocking. Inside the house, they found chaos. Overturned furniture, broken objects, and clear signs of a struggle. Sarah, Ethan's mother, was lying unconscious on the living room floor, a small cut on her head. Though injured, she was alive, and paramedics were called immediately. While paramedics stabilized Sarah, Vega and Ramirez examined the notebook from Harris's backpack. It contained detailed plans showing Harris had been stalking Sarah and Ethan, intending to kidnap Ethan and take him out of state. The evidence confirmed the gravity of his crimes. Harris, handcuffed in the patrol car, glared menacingly as he muttered threats. Meanwhile, Keanu focused on comforting Ethan and Sarah. Holding Keanu's hand tightly, Ethan asked, "Will you stay with us?" Keanu smiled warmly. "As long as you need me." At the hospital, dawn's soft light signaled a fresh start. Sarah, now resting, showed signs of relief, while Ethan sat beside her, holding her hand. After 10 hours, a doctor confirmed she's out of danger. With rest, she'll recover fully. Ethan sighed in relief, sharing a grateful glance with Keanu. Before leaving, Sarah tearfully thanked Keanu. "You saved our lives." He responded humbly, "Ethan's the real hero for asking for help." Keanu later repaired Ethan's toy car as a symbol of hope, then collaborated with a local group to aid domestic violence survivors. Months later, at a ceremony honoring Ethan for his bravery, he gave Keanu a drawing labeled "My Hero." Keanu smiled. "You're the true hero, Ethan."